Today we're going to talk about the changes that you can actually make in your area, in your neighborhood, in your community, so that we can actually make a difference in the politics that's affecting all of us all across the board. Because right now we see so many issues in our political arena, but very little is being done about it. And that's a very serious issue. And you know that if it's not us that's going to make a difference, nobody else is going to. Because we are the people who are going to have to be the change makers. We are the people who are going to have to step in and step up. We are the people who are we the people. And I know that's a term that a lot of people throw around, we the people, we the people. And the question is do you have a sense of what we the people actually means anymore? Right now in America, we've got a huge division going on in our nation. We've got a whole bunch of people who hate America that are American citizens. You can't make that make sense to me. You're an American citizen and you hate America? Wow, that's a lot to me. If you dislike America so much, maybe you should go to another country. But still, you're here, right? You can go to Russia, you can go to Iran, you can go to the Middle East, or you can go to South America, you can go to Europe. You're free to go wherever, right? So why don't you leave if America is such an issue and you hate America so much? But they still choose to stay here and hate America and actively get out in the streets and protest about our country, to overthrow our country in favor of foreign interests. And that to me is mind-boggling. Nowhere else in America, nowhere else other than in America, could you do something like that. You couldn't go to Russia and do that. You couldn't go to Belize and do that. You couldn't go to anywhere in the world and do that. You can't go over to Egypt and do that. Okay, you'll be locked up with no food, and nobody's going to find you. They'll put you in a little hole that nobody will ever know you're even there. Where on earth can you protest and talk about toppling another government of a country in favor of a foreign interest and foreign philosophies other than in America? And that, my friends, is exactly the reason why it is so much of an issue that we have people in America that don't appreciate America. They're like, oh, America's so bad, America's horrible, America's this, America's that. Well, you're talking about America like a daggone dog right here in America. If you tried to do that in Turkey, they'd never see you again. Okay? If you tried to do that in North Korea, you'd be dead before dawn. Okay? If you tried to do that in China, they'd come get you and your family. So where is it that you're told that it's okay to do this except in America? And that's where I want to start off today. Because we, the people, the American citizens, are supposed to be united behind our flag. The flag of the United States of America, which represents every one of us, no matter what color, creed, religion, or wherever you're from in the world. As long as you're here now and you're an American citizen, our flag is for you, and you stand behind our flag and we stand behind you. That's the way we're supposed to be. But now America is more divided than ever. And a lot of this has started in our educational system. Our educational system over the last 100 years has been taken over by socialists and communists. And what we're really seeing right now is a rebranding of this socialist and communist, Marxist, Leninist thinking as liberal or progressive. Now, we'll do another episode on what an actual progressive is historically, and the progressives were more traditional values, and they were originally Republicans because they had traditional values. That was what the concept of progressivism is. It's very interesting. That's progressivism is where we ended up getting a lot of the reforms in the government, like prohibition. Okay, but we can't talk about that. This new crazy neo-progressivism is just a rebranding and a repackaging of socialism and communism. I like to call it American Marxism. Okay, that's what it is. American Marxism with Chinese socialist tendencies. Okay, that's what we're witnessing right now. So these people have creeped and wormed their way inside the school system, but not just inside the school system, inside the media too. And now they're propagating all of these ideas like a boy doesn't have to be a boy, and a girl doesn't have to be a girl. So if a boy doesn't have to be a boy and a girl doesn't have to be a girl, who's going to be what, where, and when? So that's something that we have to consider. And if we're not considering that, then it's our own fault for allowing our country to go down the toilet. Because that's what we're doing. We're allowing our country to go down the toilet if we don't see that these wrong things are being taught and stand up and say something. Okay? I'm going to be very straight with you today. A boy is a boy, only and for always. A girl is a girl, only and for always. There are only two genders. Okay? There are only two sexes. Everything else is some poppycock. Excuse me. Okay? The people that tell you here that, oh, you are in the middle of a class struggle and the people are holding you down because of your race or whatever, you know, they've been saying, trying to use it on black people and say, oh, well, you're black, so the white people are holding you down, and now they've got it. And they're saying, oh, well, you're white, so they're holding you down. And the whole thing is absolutely insane, because what it's doing is it's dividing our nation within itself on the base of race. But really, when we look at everything today in our society, very little is actually based on race. We've moved forward from that decades ago. Now everything is about socioeconomics. It's about how many dollars do you have in your pocket and bank account, okay? What do you actually own and how much of it do you have? So while we've been told that everything's about race, it's not. It's about socioeconomics. And the people at the top of the pyramid are the ones who are really controlling everything. You know, they get a kick out of this stuff where they see all of these socialist and leftist policies going through because it only benefits giant mega corporations. Who's benefiting from this? You know, the whole push for this crazy solar panels and wind, I dare not say that it's green energy, because it's really not, because of the resources that it takes to create those. Who benefits from those? Not the little person on the corner trying to make a living. They can't benefit from that. Only big giant corporations, and largely many of them are multinational conglomerates, super conglomerates even. So who is standing to benefit from what is going on? Let's go back to the schools and educational system. They're teaching your children, the newest thing is DIE, right? You know, diversity, inclusion, and equity, which it spells die. I mean, you got to understand what they really want you to do. And you ask, who does it benefit? Who does it benefit? It's supposed to benefit black people, right? That's what they tell you. Or it's supposed to benefit minorities. That's what they tell you. But the largest benefactor of DIE is white, liberal, progressive women. So who's really benefiting? But in the meantime, they've got white people looking at black people and other people talking about, oh, you're interfering with our ability to grow and benefit in America, and you're the problem. Who's the problem? Most black people don't agree with that DIE nonsense or the CRT stuff that they're teaching in school, which is critical race theory, which comes from critical theory, which is a Marxist talking point, okay? You got to go back to your Marxist and Stalinism and read up on what they were all about, okay? So this is very, very serious. And unfortunately, because of the corruption in the educational system and the deterioration of any educational standards, which have been pushed by the left and the progressives, because now in many places, they don't even have alphabet grades. You couldn't even tell what grade your child really has or how they're really performing. You know, a large amount of children that are graduating right now, and I would say the mass amount of children that are graduating right now are functionally illiterate, are not able to read and write on any grade level that's really above a 5. And they're giving them high school diplomas. But they can't even read in 6th grade. They can't even do 6th grade math. Okay? And this is very, very serious. This is a thing that's facing our nation. Over the last couple of decades, they've taught people that everybody's a special snowflake and everybody gets a trophy and all of this and all of that. And what has that done for our country? Why has that philosophy been thrust upon us? You know, you get the socialists and the communists saying, oh, the man's keeping you down. Maybe that is at some rate the fact, because the people at the top of the pyramid, the elites, are really putting the whammy jammy on we the people. Okay? Now here's the question. How are they doing that? They're doing that by using the communists and socialists to oppress the actual people by pushing different narratives like the man is holding you down. Well, which man? Which man? Which part of the man? What branch of the government? What people? And they'll say, oh, well, it's the rich. What rich? What level of rich are you talking about? Is it the people that have a couple $100,000? Is it the millionaires? Is it the billionaires? Is it the families that are worth trillions of dollars? What does that even mean? Who? The wealthy. What does that mean? People come out and they say things like tax the rich. What does that even mean? What does being rich in America mean right now? Because even most of the people that you would consider to be millionaires, or even people with a few $100,000, are living paycheck to paycheck. This is something that is a real reality, because it's about social class status and where you are. Now, let's jump into that. And I know a lot of the communists and socialists, leftist progressives that are listening to this might agree with this part. And I'm going to say it flat and frank. The elites that are at the top of the pyramid are holding the people down. But they're using the progressive left to actually do that. Because what's happening is they're using them to sow discord in our nation and prevent us from uniting together to tip over the teapot and pour it out, which is really at this point what needs to be done because of the level of oppression, tyranny, and just complete authoritarianism that's coming down the pipe on the state levels of government, on the federal level of government. I mean, look at the systems that have been put in place by many of these crazy bureaucratic offices. You know, we've got the Department of Education. What good are they even if most kids are graduating and aren't able to read and write? How are we setting them up to be productive people in the future? But you've got the leftists and the progressives out here screaming up at the top of their lungs, oh, everybody deserves a higher minimum wage. Well, but the skill set isn't there, right? And when there's a higher minimum wage, what that ends up in turn doing is it ends up actually increasing inflation. And what is inflation except a tax on the working class and the poor? It's literally robbing money out of your pocket. I tell you this, I put up a post on my Facebook the other day on my Marcus C. Williams for Rochester page. And it was a picture of the menu for McDonald's, and it was a hash brown, right? Now, most of you remember hash browns are $1, hash browns are $1. Some of you that are older than that might remember hash browns are less than that. Hash browns are 50 cents or something else like that. I don't know. They've always been $1 to me, you know. And now all of a sudden, they're $3.25 for a hash brown. And the hash browns are even smaller than they've ever been, you know. And so if we measure inflation by a hash brown, if a hash brown is worth $1 and now it's $3.25, we're talking about almost a 3,000% increase. Okay, 300%, whatever, depending on how you do math and where you put the decimals. But that's a ton. Even if you look at it as a 300% increase, that is a ton. That's how high the inflation really is going. Hash browns are $1, now they're $3.25. Don't play in my face and tell me that inflation is good. Don't play in my face and tell me that increasing the minimum wage is a good thing when they're shutting down businesses for forward-facing customers. Okay, like let's say if you're doing retail, or let's say if you're working at a fast food joint, they're closing down the areas where you would generally interact with somebody that would be at a service counter, and they're putting in all machines. So now who's going to get that job? Yeah, minimum wage went up, good, whoop-de-doo, but now those jobs are gone. And you'll hear it from the communists and the socialists. They'll say it all the time. They'll say, well, if you're not able to afford people, you shouldn't be in business. Are you crazy? Are you outside your rabid mind? What is really going on here? What are we really telling people? That businesses that are paying people, that people are willing to work for the wages that they're paying, they should get paid more. But if that job isn't able to pay them, then they should be terminated and then not be able to get employment somewhere else, because now it's more people competing for less jobs. Somebody make it make sense to me, people. Make it make sense to me. And the whole time they're turning us against each other. They're turning the workers against the business owners, and it's largely the small business owners, right? Because the mega corporations, they can do whatever they want. Google just fired 20, I think it was 25 people in Austin that were contracted to work on the YouTube Music project. Don't get me started on YouTube Music. They need to go back to Google Play Music because it was a much better interface and much more user-friendly. So if anybody's from Google, listen to me. I said what I said. Listen to what I said, okay? Restore Google Play Music because YouTube Music ain't it. Anyway, but they fired these people because they were trying to unionize and they were trying to demand that they don't have to go into office to do work. You don't have to go into office to do work. You believe that the company that you work for is supposed to kowtow to your will when you got hired there, knowing full well that you'd have to go into work. But they said because of COVID, they got the luxury of working from home, and now they don't want to go back to work in the office. And get this, people, they were only requesting that they come into the office 3 days a week. Just 3 days a week. Okay, so what's that? 3 days a week is nothing. It's 7 days in a week. Okay, that's less than half the week you got to come into the office. I mean, even if you do talking about a 5-day work week, right? Like that's barely over 50%. You know? Yeah, I know, fraction, 3/5, whatever the case is. Okay. But I'm saying, this is what we're talking about. People right now, largely, and especially the people that consider themselves to be liberals and progressives and socialists and communists, are so far away from the concept of normality where the real world is, that they are imposing and proposing horrible policies and horrible frames of thought that are impacting and harming everybody else that is in America. Right now, they've got bills where in New York State and on a federal level where they're trying to get rid of all the cows. You heard me right. They want to get rid of all the cows. How are you going to eat if there's no cows? Oh, well, you could be a vegan. I got some friends that are vegan. I try to feed them carrots and leaves all the time. Okay? So I'm not about that life, and I'm not about to eat your plant-based meat that comes from some manufacturer that's got more chemicals in it than Roundup. Okay? The weed killer, people. If you're not familiar with Roundup, it's a weed killer. Okay? Or rat poison, because a lot of those things have rat poison in them, which you'd have to actually, if you go do your research on what a lot of these plant-based meats are, that's what they've got in them. Or this new, lab-grown meat. I don't know if you've ever seen lab-grown meat. The process of growing it is the most horrific thing in existence. The most horrific thing in existence. And I'll say that, noting that just yesterday, I saw a video from Haiti where, because Haiti is in complete upheaval since the president was executed, well, not executed, right? Well, I mean, technically he was executed by a gang of armed men, okay, that came and infiltrated his compound and killed him, which were actually trained by the CIA, but we're not going to talk about that today. Anyway, in Haiti, Haiti's falling to pieces. But I saw some people over there, some gangs were eating people. They're cannibals, gangs of cannibals, eating people. So when I tell you that this is more horrible than that, I mean it. So if you go and you look and you watch them growing this lab-grown meat, oh my goodness. Drink water, stay hydrated. If you watch them grow this lab-grown meat, it is the most horrific thing you can ever see. Okay, think of a heart, right? Pulsating, ba-bump, 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 ba-bump. Think of like a heart pulsating, okay? So if you've got that vision in your head, now think of what you think cells look like, right? Now think of what you think a clump of cells looks like, or what you would see is growing in a petri dish that looks like maybe mold or like a tumor or something in a petri dish growing, okay? Now think of it looking like some sort of weird flesh, and it's moving and twitching like it's alive, but just barely, desperately trying to form itself into a whole, tangible animal. It is not only disgusting, it is horrific and one of the most sad, grotesque things I have ever seen in my life. It's as if that organism is desperately trying to form itself as a whole organism, and it's horrid. That should be illegal everywhere. There's no ethics that you can say that can justify lab grown meat. Okay? And then they'll tell you, well, it'll save the world from cow farts. Cow farts, my hindquarters. Okay? Let me put you in an example where we are. I'm in New York State, right? In upstate New York. So we're the lands of the bison up here. The bison and the buffalo. And you know, in America, before the settlers came and before the great expansion west, bisons roamed the plains and the prairies and everywhere. Okay, and they were everywhere in multitude. Okay, they were absolutely everywhere across this nation. Millions and millions of them. Okay, everywhere. Now we've got like none. Okay, as a matter of fact, they were on the red list for endangered species up until a couple of years ago. Okay, now where I live, I'm not far from Buffalo, New York, named after the bisons, right? The buffalo. Okay, buffalo bisons, same difference, same thing. Then you've got all these other people with the logos of buffalo up here because it was a big, big thing up here, you know? And they're also very tasty and delicious, which is, I understand why the settlers killed them all off and ate them all, because they're delicious. But yeah, you hear old stories. There used to be mountains and mountains of buffalo bones because the settlers just killed them and ate them so much. It's crazy. Okay, if you watch any of the old Western movies that show all the buffalo and bison and stuff like that, it's kind of crazy. But I mentioned that to mention that buffalo are just big cows, essentially. Okay, and we had millions, tens of millions of them all across our nation, and now we've got only a few thousand. So this is real, a real difference in numbers. But they're saying after we had all of those and they've all been basically eradicated, now that we've got cows, the methane from the cows are destroying the environment. Well, those are bigger animals than regular cows, and they produce methane also. And there used to be more of them than there are cows now. So how are you telling me that the cow farts are what's causing climate change? Global warming. Or wait, is it global freezing? Or, whatever it is this week, because it keeps changing, right? So can we talk about that? But these are policies that are being pushed by the leftist progressives that call themselves leftist progressives and the communists and the socialists, because they're all really all together in an amalgamation that we can call the American Marxists. And that's how I'll refer to them for the rest of the show here, just for simplicity. But with these people, what we are seeing is they are implementing more and more things that are making everything more and more expensive for you. They want to make it so that we have less meat, okay? Which means that the cost of meat is going up. If you've gone shopping, you see the price of meat is going up astronomically. The state and the federal government have put in all of these extra regulations for making sure that you have to put this in the meat and you can only have this much space, and all of these crazy regulations that go into the beef industry that they've added on. And this is a very serious issue, because it's not just there. It's chickens, it's eggs, it's everything. It's cheese, it's your farms, it's your agricultural farms, it's your potatoes, it's your lettuce, it's your kale. I know y'all like y'all kale out there. Kale. I'm not a fan of kale. I'm more of a spinach person myself. But they've even got these new things where they're trying to put vaccines and stuff inside different types of food. Like spinach is one of them. And I love to eat spinach. I guess I'm going to have to stop eating spinach because they're trying to put this crazy stuff in my food. Why are you trying to put this in my food? I did not ask you for that. You know, and I'm not able to remember it, but there's this one bill that I want to say it's Illinois, or maybe it's Indiana. I don't remember and I don't recall. So if I'm incorrect, don't hold me to that. So they've got this bill that they've put forth, and basically the bill says that if it is partially made of human meat, that you have to label it, that it's human flesh. That's a real thing, people. And it's valid and it's worth talking about. Because I don't know if any of you guys listening remember the movie Soylent Green. It's people. It's people. That's the way that we're going. I always say that the carbon that the American Marxists want to eliminate is you. You're the carbon they want gone. You're the carbon they're always talking about because you're a carbon-based organism. But we have to be mindful that as these policies get continually implemented, the costs of everything go up and up and up. We've seen the rise in the cost of electricity, in the cost of gasoline. All of this comes from policies. They want us to shut down nuclear power plants. They shut down multiple nuclear power plants in New York State, which provide mountains of clean energy, And they've done that in the name of green energy, right? But that's clean energy, and you're shutting it down, and it can produce way more than solar panels in New York State, which is cloudy most of the year, okay? And in most of the solar panels in New York State don't produce more than 10-15% of capacity, maybe. And I'm being generous. You guys know I'm being generous. You guys that follow the charts on the different large projects where the solar panels are, I'm being very generous there. Because we got a lot of large solar panel projects. If you look up how much they're producing like 2-3% of capacity because of just where we live, the atmosphere that we live in. It's cloudy up here most of the year. Then we've got the impact of the solar panels and stuff on the ground, killing off the ground, the vegetation, destroying everything. Then it reflects all of that extra heat back into the atmosphere, and you're going to tell me something about global warming? You don't think these giant arrays of mirrors are increasing the temperature in the clouds and altering the climate in our areas? Like the mini climate, because climate is only the climate is the weather patterns in a specific area for a 10-year period, right? So when you say climate, you can't say world climate. That's not a real thing. Okay, that's a misnomer. It's area, regionally geographical climates. Okay, but up here, when you just think about shining a mirror after all the sunlight on your face, is your face going to get hot or not? Okay, you just reflect the sun right into your face. You're going to cook. That's why people do it at the beach. They get the large mirrors and they put it on themselves so they can tan. Okay, and you get hot and you start cooking. And if you don't put on enough suntan lotion, or if you stay out there too long, you start to burn and fry. So what is it doing to the sky, reflecting back all of that heat and light all day long? It just goes up and comes back down somewhere else, burning that up, changing the environment and the heat patterns and the air patterns and stuff like that. But we can't talk about that. Okay, and we need to be talking about these things. When these people bring up these policies, we need to be having real conversations on long-term impacts and reasonability. If it's going to increase your costs, it's probably not worth it. It's probably not of value. And you'll say, well, Marcus, but there's so many ways that are a rush to the bottom as far as what would you call it? The pollution and stuff go. Yeah, when was the last time you heard somebody actually talk about pollution? Can we talk about that? No, because nobody wants to talk about that in this whole green energy bonanza. Nobody's talking about pollution or anything because it's not about that. And that's something we have to recognize. Now I want to go back to the schools and stuff like this because that's where all this stuff is being taught. That and this crazy social justice, okay? But before that, I just want to remind you that you're listening to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We're here on WRFZ 106.3 FM, Rochester Free Radio. And if you're watching online, more power to you. Like and subscribe. And if you're not watching online, tell of your other friends to tune into us Mondays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. And you can always follow me on YouTube or on Rumble, the Marcus C. Williams channel. All the videos will be up there that we've got of our live recordings here. Okay, that's the Marcus C. Williams channel on Rumble and YouTube. And you can always find me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I'm out there, Marcus C. Williams. You'll find me. But back into it. So let's talk about these schools and all this social justice and crazy stuff that they're teaching the children. They're out there teaching them how to protest and teaching them that they don't have to be a boy or a girl in school when they're not able to read or write. This is nothing but indoctrination or brainwashing, they say. Now they're calling it grooming, because that's what it is. It's mental conditioning is grooming. That's what it is. You know, and when you hear grooming, you usually think, well, sexual grooming. A lot of it is. But more so than anything, it's the softening of the minds so that they're open to all types of malintentionality that might be thrust upon them under the guise of something that supposedly sounds good, because they don't have the critical thinking capacity, because they've taken critical thinking and reasoning out of schools. Who has done that? The American Marxists, the leftists, the progressives, the socialists, the communists that are in the schools that openly disregard and hate America. They'll not do the American national anthem, or they'll make sure that there's no American flag in their classroom, but they'll have all types of alphabet flags and BLM flags and all of this and all of that. Okay, who's that for? It's not for any of the people. It's not for the benefit of the people. It's for self-righteousness. Okay, and many of this is being pushed by the higher collegiate institutions, because that's where these teachers come from. They come out these higher indoctrination level institutions where they've been mind softened for 4, 8, 12 years, and now that's all that they know for life, because they went in there as a malleable individual, and now their mind is all hardened and calcified with a whole bunch of irrational stuff. But they think that it's just, and they think that it's right, so they go on with it as though they might. And to that point, I'd like to talk about these crazy anti-American, pro-Palestinian jihadists in this country right now. Okay, and everybody's supporting this insanity. You'll say, well, Marcus, that's a bit of a harsh rebuke for those people, wouldn't you say? Absolutely not. I wouldn't be able to be contemptuous enough of that. Like how I started off this show talking about how they hate America and they're here, but they couldn't do that in another country. If they really care that much about what's going on in Palestine or over there in Israel, they take their behinds over there and they do something over there, not bother us over here. We got our own stuff over here. We got people dying from overdoses on the street out here every day from all the illegal drugs and stuff that keep coming. Okay, we got homeless veterans and stuff that need to be helped out. We got struggling single parents out here that need assistance. We got people that are struggling because rent's too expensive, because all of these ridiculous policies that have been put in and implemented are harming our economy and our country on scale. But back to these anti-American jihadists, okay? What's wrong with them? They're out here calling for a ceasefire, right? They're like, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. What? What do you mean ceasefire now? Okay. Fine, I hear you. A ceasefire. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, you think that they shouldn't be fighting and killing each other? Ceasefire. Okay, I got it. Makes sense. Whether I agree or not is a whole separate conversation. Okay. All I care about is America and America's interests. Okay, that's where I stand. Okay, I stand for America and no other country in the world. Period. End of story. I'm an American first, last, and always, and I stand for America first, last, and always. Okay? And if I'm gonna do my best to stand strong for America, even if I'm the last one left standing for America in this country. So, as I say that, I want to talk about what they're talking about now. Now they're like, we want a lasting ceasefire, or we want a permanent ceasefire. What the heck is that? That's not a real thing. A ceasefire is temporary. That's what a ceasefire is, a temporary halt to hostilities. That's what a ceasefire is. So when you say permanent ceasefire, that's not a thing. That's called, in theory, that would be a truce. That would be a peace treaty. That would be a cessation of hostilities. But the one thing that it wouldn't be is a ceasefire, because a ceasefire is not permanent. Okay, that's not how ceasefires work. If you wanted to push for peace in the Middle East, many of you are older than me and you remember the 80s and 90s, peace in the Middle East, Yasser Arafat, all of that, peace in the Middle East. But they're not calling for peace in the Middle East. They're talking about a ceasefire. What does that even mean? A ceasefire is a temporary halt to hostilities. You want a peace treaty, you daggone I'm trying to be nice with my words right now, so you got to give me a second because I got to dial myself back a notch, okay? Because I really feel some type of way. You ill-informed individuals. That's what I'm going to say, that they're ill-informed. I'm going to be very nice about it. They're ill-informed, okay? They're ill-informed. But if you try to explain to them that what they are asking for isn't a ceasefire, they'll go off on you, like, making all types of crazy demonic faces at you, and shouting, yelling, spitting, and screaming, and wanting to fight you, because you're trying to tell them what actual definitions out of a book called the dictionary are, and explaining to them that what they're calling for and what they've been indoctrinated to believe is what's right is not even accurate of fact. Okay, it's so disgusting. It makes you want to spit, man. I'll tell you what. It's disgusting, and they're out here acting like they're feral or something, ripping down flags and marching down the streets and demanding saying there's only one solution is an Antifada revolution, which look up Antifada. It's a armed revolution to overthrow the government. Now they're out there marching with foreign flags, talking about overthrowing our government. You make that make sense to me. Who is allowing this to happen? Our elected officials are allowing this to happen, and they're in open treason against our nation. In open treason against our nation. And you'll say, well, this or well that, or what about this or what about that? I'm not going to what about anything right now. We're going to talk about the people marching with foreign flags. Now this is the important part. Foreign flags, okay, marching with foreign flags out there in our streets, talking about they're going to overthrow our government in an armed insurrection against our government for a foreign interest, not even for the American people. You make it make sense to me. This is a real serious issue, and every locality, every federal person that is an elected official that supports this nonsense is part of the problem. Okay, if you want them to go, and I'm not talking about saying that the hostilities need to be lowered in Palestine or Israel or that over there or whatever. I'm saying that are out here supporting these crazy anti-American jihadists. That's all that they can be called, because they're up there causing havoc in our nation. Okay, and then now everything's all about all of this insanity, and it is a very serious problem. It's interfering with our commerce. It's interfering with our local bureaucracies and stuff like that. It is a very, very, very serious issue and a big problem. But we have to nip it in the bud. We have to. Now, I'd like to take 2 seconds, and I'd like to go back to Haiti for a second. Haiti is in complete upheaval. I talked about them a little bit last week, but it's gotten worse even since last week till now. Like I said, I just saw a video of a gang of cannibals cooking and eating somebody yesterday from there. It's insane. It's insane. So when you want to talk about real crazy stuff going on, that's what's going on. We just had 800 children, 476 children, and almost 400 women that are Christians kidnapped in northern Nigeria, northeastern Nigeria, right? Okay? By these Islamist jihadist groups kidnapping, torturing, and raping children and women. But can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? No, because it's Christians that are being persecuted. We can't talk about that, right? Can we talk about that? Have you seen that on the news once? No, you probably haven't even seen that. You didn't even know that happened. And that was less than 4 days ago now. Okay? But where's that in the news? Can we talk about that? No. But back to Haiti, the gruesome, horrible stuff that's going on there. Now, when the president first got killed, they tried to get refugee status in America for some of them to come over here. And America said no, but they'll let all these illegal aliens through our borders, okay? And we were complicit in the toppling of Haiti's government. Wasn't the first time either, okay? They can say whatever they want. It's true. We funded and supported Papa Doc and Baby Doc before this, which were terrible dictators that were in Haiti. Some of you might remember them. They're before my time though, but some of you might remember them. And if you know history, you might be familiar with them too. But it's really, really sad what's going on there, and nobody's shining a light on what's going on in Haiti. But outside of that, let's not even talk about other countries. Let's talk about what's going on in America and how they're separating and dividing us. You know, on this show, we don't often talk about the previous president, but today we're going to talk about his court case just a little bit. Donald J. Trump had a court case that went before the Supreme Court the other day. And basically what it was about was Colorado bumped him off of the ballot, and then the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that, because Colorado said that the reason they were doing that was because of the insurrection clause in the Constitution. Now, in order to actually get that to be a actual thing, somebody has to be charged with insurrection. Donald Trump was never charged with insurrection, and in order for somebody to be charged with insurrection, it would have to go through Congress. And if you remember, they tried to impeach him twice in Congress while he was in office, okay? But when they did that, never, ever did they levy insurrection as one of the charges against him. So this is something that we really need to talk about, okay? And the Supreme Court said, no, you guys, you can't take anybody off the ballot for that, because even if you were going to, it would be something that would have to be started on the federal level, because that's how it works. You can't make a decision for the whole country based on that. And that's a very serious issue, because could you imagine if states could start kicking people off the ballot because they didn't like them, or they decided that they wanted to say that they did something just so they couldn't be on the ballot? That means that all of the red states would be red forever. All of the blue states would be blue forever. And anybody that's a third party or somebody else that might even be in their party that might stand up to challenge them would be taken out. And we see that now in certain issues that we have with the corruption and stuff inside our electoral system and the way that it's laid out. But that would be even more perverse and right out in your face. Okay? Like, we have to be very cognizant and understanding of what's going on, because you can't be doing stuff like that. So then Trump ended up back on the ballot in Colorado and the other states that took him off of the ballot, because the people should decide, not the government, for the people. We are a government of the people, by the people, for the people, not a government of the government, for the government, with some people at the bottom. And that's what we have to remember, okay? And this goes back to my conversation about we the people. We need to unite, because with the way that the political system is going right now, there are many people out here, oh, all the Democrats are terrible, or all the Republicans are terrible, or, oh, I hate that Donald Trump, or, oh, I hate that Joe Biden. Fine. That's fine. But are we going to be able to talk about policy? Policy that's being implemented that's harming all of us? Or is it because maybe it was your party that passed that law and that policy that you don't see the issues of it, that you don't see the problems? You look at the issues with Flint, Michigan, and their crazy issue with the water. You look at Jacksonville, Mississippi, and their crazy issue with the water. You might not even have heard of what happened in Jacksonville. Look it up. And all of those, and you look at Flint, Michigan, run by Democrats for almost 75 years, completely run by Democrats. What did they do about that? Okay, my city of Rochester is going to heck in a handbasket, okay, with rocket-fueled underpants, okay? And why? 50 years of Democrat rule. Okay, one-party rule is generally not good, because there's no diversity of any type or sense of reasoning or policies. And what happens is the people get too complacent, and they're like, oh, well, maybe I can't change anything, or they're like, oh, well, it's my people are in power, so everything's good. And then issues don't actually get addressed. So the number of the percentage of people that vote goes less and less and less. So that's why they have to sensationalize something like Orange Man Bad, so that they can get you out to vote. Or in New York State, where Orange Man Bad isn't even enough to get people out to vote, they're like, we're going to make equal rights for people who call themselves dogs. And we're going to make equal rights for 12 years old to have intercourse and give permission to have intercourse with grown adults. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not okay with me. Neither part of those things make any sense. Okay, especially after I mentioned earlier in the program of how they teach the children not to have any value of critical thinking and not to be able to reason. So this was all grooming and leading and brainwashing up to this point so that they can get this. And now here we have it. They're calling it an equal rights amendment. That's going to be on the back of the ballot this year. I encourage you all to vote no. Okay. But we've already got an equal rights amendment. We already have an equal rights amendment in the state's constitution. It protects everybody. Now they're trying to segment it and make it specific, small, individual groups, but it already protects everybody. It says you can't discriminate on race, color, creed, and some other stuff, religion and such, in our state constitution. It's already there. So what are you talking about? We need to make amendments to it to make this, to pass this. Now, what this bill will do is it'll make your little kids be able to give consent for any types of procedures or anything without the parents' knowledge. It'll make them be able to give consent for any type of sexual activity with any type of individual without their parents' consent. This is a very dangerous thing to open up the doors to, okay? But they're pitching it to you like it sounds good. We got some other people that are calling it the, what are they calling it? They're saying it's the anti-parental rights bill, okay? Because it's against parental rights, where it is. But it's way worse than that. Calling it that doesn't even honestly do it justice. It is moral corruption and inturpitude, if I'm using that word right. I'm pretty sure I am. I'm just going to say it loudly and confidently enough, and that's going to be the word. It's moral inturpitude, okay? That's what this bill is. It's trash, super trash. And they're calling it an amendment to our Constitution that they want to add in, okay? How? Have you met 12-year-olds? I mean, shoot, I deal with young adults all the time, 16, 17 years old, and sometimes 13 and 14, you know? And let me tell you where their mind is. It's not on anything that anybody that is a cognizant individual with any hypercritical ability to critical reasoning and critically think that anybody would imagine, okay? This is why Cardi B's WAP was #1, okay, previously. This is why one of the hit songs from last year was a demonic song talking about paint the town red, worshiping demons, and then you get people like Lil Nas X, okay, talking about homosexual intercourse with the devil and bearing devil offspring, and this is cool, okay? Or you get people talking about open demon portals and stuff like that in music, and people love this, and you'll say, well, Marcus, that's black people. No, it's not. You better check your little white children, okay? I don't know if you know what these people are listening to, okay? But it's not just black people. It's the media industry that is the problem, okay? And black culture is fast culture, okay? That's why they use the blacks to push all of this stuff out into the world, okay? That's why they're just using black people as a tool in the media industry, in the music industry, to propagate all of this insanity. Black people don't agree with this in large and mass. Tell somebody black grandma that that's okay. Man, please, listen. It's so disgusting, man. It makes me want to spit. It's absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And for people to think that it's okay, that this is where we are and everything's fine and hunky-dory, drink water, stay hydrated. It's absolutely abysmal. This is not normal. This is not okay. And the direction that they're taking us is a bad direction. And that's where we have to come together and we have to start to unite, okay? In Texas, on one of the college campuses, they've got this giant ornate gold idol statue to Lilith, okay? Now, if you don't know who Lilith is considered the mother of all demons, right? She's the mother of all demons. She's a succubus, okay? She feeds off of men and their sexual energy, okay? She also eats human babies. She's considered to be the first vampire, okay? And they're out there, and they've got a giant statue to Lilith in Texas. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Houston, okay? And it's crazy. It's absolutely abhorrent. How could you put something up like that in America and be allowed to get away with it? You'll say, oh, well, Marcus, that's freedom of speech. Oh, well, Marcus, that's freedom of religion. First of all, if you listen to these crazy Satanists, the Satanists will tell you that Satanism isn't even actually a religion. It's a philosophy. And then that's a whole debate that I'm not going to get into. Okay, whatever. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that that's not free speech. That's not freedom of religion. Okay. And if somebody put up a giant cross, okay, all the crazy people would be out immediately up in arms about it, and it wouldn't be okay, because they'd be like, oh, you can't put that on a college campus. You can't have that type of stuff out there because you're trying to force your religion on other people, da 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 da. Are you serious? But you can have a statue of a vampire that steals men's energy through sexual proclivities, okay, and rape, because that's what she does. Can you say that on the air? I think you can say that on the air. Okay. Okay, and that steals men's sexual energy through rape. That's why if you ever hear of the devil is riding you, or if you're in bed and you feel like you're being held down and you can't move or can't talk, okay, if you're a man, that's a succubus. That's what Lilith is. If you're a female, that's an incubus, like the band Incubus, or like the Nike sneakers that got pulled off the shelves because they were called Incubus. And there was a whole thing about that, like how could you name that after a demon that does that to women, for a women's pair of sneakers, right? And Lilith is the mother of all of them. Okay? But can we have that conversation? Are we being real with what's going on in our nation? As we proceed down this path, this is a very negative and moral path that is immersing our nation in just moral decay, complete moral decay. Okay, and they'll say, oh, well, you can be moral and be a good person without having Jesus or having religion or whatever. No, you can't. No, you can't. That's the biggest lie you've ever been sold. Okay, because your values and morals come from your super ego, and I believe we talked about this on an episode a couple of weeks ago. Okay, and that super ego is foundationalized by what you're taught as you're young, and that rearing, and where your original values are centered around. And it's been proven that when it's centered around religion, that's how you are more, excuse the word, pious, right? So I mean more. What was it called? Oh my goodness, what was the guy's name? Virgil and what was Virgil's whole thing? I forget. Anyway, it makes you more morally virtuous, let's say. But here is the whole thing. If we go down this path and we turn away from the Lord and we turn away from Jesus, we are going on the wrong path as a nation, because that's why we've been able to be so prosperous. That's why we've been able to be so protected. That's why we've been able to be so successful as a nation, is because we have been rooted in Jesus's teachings and the Father in heaven. If we do not turn back, repent for what is going on and what we have done, then all is going to be lost. We must turn around. We must turn back to God. We must turn back to our Father in heaven above. We must turn to the teachings of Jesus so that we may be closer to the Father. That's how we're going to turn this country around. You know, it started with these crazy leftist, Marxist, progressive socialists, okay? Because at the time they started off as communists, right? Then they called themselves socialists, okay? Well, there were the socialists and there were the communists, because the socialists were the Nazis, which is a whole separate conversation. The socialist Nazis and the communists, okay, and it started off with them, and then going into the Hollywood area, and them starting to soften the minds of the people and tell them to move away from religion, and they started pushing for the taking down of the 10 Commandments in courthouses. The 10 Commandments in courthouses, isn't that what the foundation of our laws are all about? You know, don't steal, don't be a bad person, don't covet your neighbor's stuff, and all those good things. I'm not about to run through them all right now. Thou shalt not murder, you know, like this is, it's real. But they got rid of them from there. And again, it's the moral discrepancy that is creeping through our nation. Then they took the Bible out of schools. They took prayer out of schools. And that's when we start seeing these issues. And you'll say, well, Marcus, How do you know that for sure? Because you can look exactly at the time periods and what's going on, and you can mark on a calendar when they started to take that stuff out to where we are now, and the more or less that we see any type of Christianity in the schools, in the politics, in that whole issue there, okay, in the moral fabric of society, the more proclivities, the more deviant behavior, the more violence, the more crime, the more drugs, all of this starts to go up astronomically. What's the common denominator? The fact that they've gotten rid of the actual Christian religion in our nation. And Christians are persecuted in America every day, and nobody talks about it. We don't make the news. We're the most persecuted group anywhere in the world, but they don't talk about it at all. They can make fun of Jesus all day long. If they made fun of Mohammed, people would be setting them on fire. Okay? They vandalize churches all the time. If they vandalize a synagogue, it'll be all holy hell. Okay? But can we talk about that? They pass all of these laws. I just saw a law pass, I believe it was Kirsty Noem. I love me some Kirsty Noem. Y'all know me if you listen to me. I love me some Kirsty Noem. Okay? She's like a motherly grandma type of woman that's strong also at the same time and very pro-America. She's awesome. And she's the governor of South Dakota. But she passed a law the other day about preventing anti-Semitism or something like that. And my only question is, her as a Christian, where are the laws and the protections for Christians? They got laws to protect alphabet people. They got laws to protect trans people, which I don't really include them with the LGB. You know, not that even the B should be with the L and the G, but that's a whole separate conversation. But that separately, they got whole, and I say they've got the alphabet stuff and they've got the trans stuff separately because they've got separate bills. It's crazy. The whole thing is insane, but they always try to lump them together. So they got separate bills for the alphabet people. They got bills for the trans people. They got bills for the Jewish people. They got bills for the Muslim people. They got bills for the Chinese. Okay? Where are the bills for the Christians? All of these people in government call themselves Christians and Catholics, but they're passing bills for everybody else except Christians. There's no anti-Christian hate bill. There's no stop Christianophobia bill. Okay? Our people are being beat down in the streets. We're having priests and bishops and stuff killed in their parishes or in their homes, and nobody's talking about it. We've had multiple churches and multiple schools shot up by these trans people. Okay? Actually, this is crazy, guys. All of these trans people that have been doing these shootings have been the women that claim to be men. Okay, that's very interesting there, and there needs to be some sort of a thing looked into there, because that's really crazy. Which, in contrast, the men that claim that they're women are just super hyper aggressive and angry all the time, and this isn't at all of them, but the ones that don't know that they're men, right? Like, there are some that you would consider more, and I hate to use this term, that you'd consider more traditionally transsexual, or what's the other word for them? There's another word for them. I don't remember. She-males, right? Like, there are those people who identify as that, but they're men that know that they're men. They just want to look like women. But there are these other people that are so warped and twisted in the head, they are men and they demand to be called a woman. They demand that they are a woman and they should be on women's sports teams, but they've got their whole wedding tackle and everything. You make it make sense to me. And even while those people are hyper aggressive, okay, and very easily agitatable and everything like that, they're not the ones going around shooting up places. It's the women that think that they're men that are going around doing it. Somebody's got to make that make sense to me. We got a serious mental health problem in this nation that needs to be addressed, and it needs to start with those people. Number one. Okay, because if you're going to tell me that you're a dog and you're a human, something's wrong. Something's wrong there. You're going to tell me that you're a boy and you're a girl, something's wrong there. Something's wrong there, and it's shown by their actions. It's shown by their actions. Like, I'm not making this stuff up, and somebody might feel butthurt or say this or say that. I'm just telling the truth. Somebody's got to say the truth. Nobody wants to speak the truth anymore because everybody's afraid of being canceled or being called mean or hateful or this or that or whatever. I've already requisitioned myself to the fact that at some point they might be trying to put me on a train somewhere and I'm not going, okay? So at some point I will leave this and shed this mortal coil, okay? Or they'll come for me, but I'm not with it, okay? As long as I'm alive, I'm going to speak up for righteousness. I'm going to speak up for what's right, okay? Because somebody has to do it, and I hope and I pray that I encourage you to stand up and speak up too. Because now is a time for us to stand up and speak up. We have to take action. We can no longer be silent. There's no more sitting on your couch, oh, I'm mad at the TV, oh, I don't like what's going on with Joe Biden's policies. I don't like the gas prices. Oh, I don't like the crime and violence. Oh, I don't like them sending money to all of these foreign governments, or oh, I don't like them prioritizing illegal aliens over American citizens. Get up. Get up. Get out your car. Get off your couch. Get up. It's time to stand up. It's time to rally together. It's time to unite. Find like-minded individuals. Start taking action. You say, well, Marcus, what type of action can I take? I'm only one person. First, start finding and uniting with other people that feel the same way and galvanizing together. Look at what the anti-American Marxists do. Okay, look at what these jihadists do. All of them seem to find each other and come out and do all of these protests and stuff like that. Where are our people? Oh, our people are scared because of January 6th. Hello, they're going to come and put you on a train eventually anyway. Okay, they're coming for you. You're not going to be able to protect yourself by yourself. Oh, well, I'm more concerned about me and my family. I can't get out and do anything like that because it's just about me and my family. Who's going to be there to protect you? Nobody. It's going to be just you versus the full might of the American government, and they're going to squash you like a toad that you are, because that's how they feel about you. I feel that you're important. I feel that you are part of we, the people, that together we are powerful. And we must hold the government accountable. Because if we don't, we give up the future of America. We give up the future of the future generations. We give up the future of the children. We are Americans. We were born and bred with the revolutionary spirit in our bones. There is a reason why they no longer teach cursive in school anymore. Because they don't want your child to be able to read our founding documents. There's a reason why they don't teach reading and writing. Because they don't want your child to be educated, because they know that the higher level that you're able to read and write on is a higher level that you're able to reason on. And if you have the ability to reason, you might reason, well, maybe the government isn't doing me the way that they should be doing me. And they don't want that. So you got to start to unite and start to stand up and speak up wherever you are. Maybe that means that you speak up on the internet. Well, I'll be shadow banned there. We're all shadow banned on the internet. We're all banned on the internet. They take down all of our stuff on the internet and everything. Have you not been around the last 5 years? You can barely say boo on the internet without your stuff coming down off the internet. Man, say what you need to say. Say the truth. Speak the truth. Stand up for the American way, right? Truth, justice, and the American way. That used to be what Superman said. Now he says some old crazy stuff. I'm going to find out what his new saying is because it's so crazy. I just got to tell you. Because it's crazy. That used to be Superman's whole saying. It used to be truth, justice, and the American way. And then they changed it because that was too much. Truth, justice. I'm looking it up right now as I'm talking to you. It was truth, justice, Superman. A better tomorrow, right? That's his new saying. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. It's crazy. Truth, justice, and the American way, people. Truth, justice, and the American way. We must stand up for America because nobody is coming to save us, I guarantee you. I guarantee you nobody else likes us. And as I said at the beginning in the onset of this whole conversation we had today, that we as the American people are being set upon each other so that we are not able to stand up as a whole, as a unit, because they know that the more of us that would unite together, if we saw that the other people are really suffering the same way that we're suffering, if the average black person saw that the way that the average white person was suffering is exactly the same circumstance, if the average white person saw that the way that the average black person was suffering, almost the same exact circumstance, if the Asians and everybody saw that we are all being treated equally, jacked up by our government, and they are forcing repressive taxes and horrible regulations and horrible policies against us as Americans, we would all unite together to take the teapot and tip it out. And it's about time, because the tea has gone rancid. The tea must be poured out. Now is the time. Drink water, stay hydrated. But as I say this to you. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? I hope that I can be a light to guide you in the direction of starting to find your own voice, to start to speak up. I may be one voice, but I promise I will do my best to shine in this darkness so that I can show you that the darkness exists, so that I can give you some faith that there is a way forward in America, and that we can stand up, and that we can unite together, and that we can restore America together, because we deserve a nation that works for us, that promises us the American dream, but more so than just promising the American dream to us, it makes the American dream obtainable to all, and that is the direction that we must go in. That is where we must go. With that being said, basic steps. I always talk about basic steps on this program of how to get involved, no matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or whatever you are, wherever you are. Becoming a committeeman on your local political committee is one of the smallest things that you can do to start getting more informed on what's going on locally. I encourage you to search online your local political committees for whatever party you are in, whether it's Democrat. Find out where your local Democrat committee is or whatever. You can usually start at the county, and the county will usually navigate you to a town or a district, depending on how many people are in your area. And that's one of the best ways that you can start to get involved. Okay, but outside of that, we really need to be forming our own stuff outside, uniting with like-minded individuals, finding our people. Finding our people. We must find our people. We must unite together with them. We must come together. We must support each other. When somebody's having an event, okay, or when somebody's having a rally, to stand up to push back against the insanity. Maybe it's the issues with the schools. Maybe it's the issues with the crime. Maybe it's some other bad, horrible policy where they want to stop you from being able to have a wood stove or a fireplace, which is something they're doing in New York State, people. Or maybe they don't want you to have natural gas, or maybe any of these things that we all see are issues together. We must unite. We must unite for what is right, because together as a whole, we are all American. We are all American. All we have is America. If America was to fall tomorrow, nobody would be here to help us. Mexico already doesn't want any Americans there anymore. They say that we're destroying their economy. We're making inflation go up crazy high. Canada doesn't want Americans, and they haven't wanted Americans since probably the 90s, the early 90s. We saw the way that they told us that they don't want us up there at all. We have to be paying attention. Nobody is going to come to our aid if there is an issue in America. We are all we have. And we must start uniting together and galvanizing. If not now, then when? I know a lot of people are afraid or scared because of what they did to all of the people that were in Washington, D.C. on January 6th that didn't even do anything. Didn't even go in the building, didn't go anywhere near the building, and they're being locked up and jailed and persecuted and prosecuted for nothing. And that scared a lot of people. Let me tell you what, if they do that to them then, what do you think they'll do to you later once they continue to come for all the firearms? They're coming for all the firearms. They said it. Biden talks about it all the time. All the Democrats talk about it all the time. And this is a message for you as a Democrat too. If you're listening to this and you believe in the Second Amendment and you believe that the government is not in your best interest, honestly, and trust that if you believe that the government is not in your best interest, you should be owning a firearm. You need to become a Second Amendment holder, okay? And in New York State, that means that you need to get a New York State pistol permit. I encourage all of you to go out and apply for yours. Anybody that's listening. If you're listening and you're in a constitutional carry state, more power to you. I think we're up to 28, 29 constitutional carry states, I could only pray that we get that here in New York State, because it's bad. All the criminals have all the guns, and legal law-abiding citizens are catching all types of negative stuff trying to own a firearm that's even barely functional. Okay, and prices of ammunition are going through the roof. Okay, it's absolutely abhorrent what is going on. And we need to be able to defend ourselves and our own communities and our friends, families, and our property, because the government is very clearly not doing it. And on that note, I want to talk about what's going on in New York City with the Governor Kathy Hochul. Okay, I call her the High Priestess Kathy because she swears that she speaks for the mouth of God. She said that out her mouth. Okay, she said that God told her that everybody should be vaxxed. God never told you any insanity like that. Okay, no way, no way. That's not even the way that he operates. And if she even had the Holy Spirit in her, she'd know better than to say some craziness like that with her necklace that says vaxxed on it. But I'm not going to talk about that. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about her implementing mini martial law. Okay, she implemented National Guard in the subway system in New York City because she said because of the rising crime there. Now let me tell you something. There's more crime in Rochester. Okay, and we don't have enough police in Rochester. So she's saying it's because of crime down there. She'll do it up here where I live in Rochester in Monroe County. You guys think it's a joke, you think it's a game. She would do it. It's so disgusting, it makes you want to spit. But she would do it. And she's already tried to familiarize people with the concept of the National Guard doing basic duties already. Okay, we saw them during the pandemic. They were out there at the airport and stuff, doing stuff, civilian duties and stuff like that. Then they sent them into the hospitals doing civilians duties and stuff like that. And the military is not to be used for stuff like that, okay? The military is not for that. They just wanted to try to condition you to see the National Guard and become comfortable with the National Guard doing civilian duties. And that's what's happening in New York City now. Now they got them in the metro checking people's bags. Well, that's a violation of your First, Second, Fourth Amendment, which is illegal search and seizure, okay, Eighth Amendment, okay, and the 10th Amendment, okay? That's 5 of the amendments of the Constitution, 5 of the amendments of the Bill of Rights that Kathy Hochul just wiped away and said, I do what I want. We already know that she said many a times that she doesn't have to listen to the Constitution of the United States of America, that she'll do what she wants, that she doesn't have to do anything that the Supreme Court says that she does what she wants. And it's a very serious and real problem here in New York State. And it's time for us to unite and stand up and galvanize to push back against this insanity. If she really cared about what was going on, if she really cared, she would make it so that they amended bail reform, which is cashless bail. If you guys know what that is, if you're not from here, you might know it as cashless bail, which just lets everybody out of jail without even going to jail on an appearance ticket. Think of how you might get a parking violation ticket. That's essentially what they give to robbers and muggers and rapists and what you call them, and all these other types of villainous, terrible people. Okay, and they get right out. They don't even get held. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. Not even overnight. It's very, very serious. It's very serious. And we've got to understand what's going on. We've got the raise the age laws here that need to be amended, which say that no matter how severe and serious the crime is that's committed, if you're under 18, you're considered a juvenile. In New York State, when you're a juvenile, all of the cases that you have, no matter how severe, go to the family court. And in New York State, when your stuff goes to the family court, when you're considered a juvenile, your record is sealed and expunged. So essentially, you can commit as many crimes as you want, and next time you go to court, it's like it's your first offense. It's very, very serious, and nobody would ever know because your record's expunged. Your record's sealed. This is real stuff that can be amended. But are they going to amend it? Absolutely not. Are they going to stand up and are they going to change anything? Absolutely not. But they'd like to make it okay for the military to be in public spaces basically doing what you would in theory consider policing, but it's not even policing, it's martial law. Because like I said, in order to do what they're doing, they're essentially suspending 5 parts of the Constitution right there. And you can go look them up. First, Second, Fourth, Eighth, and 10th Amendments. Go look them up, okay? Well, quote me on that. Okay, it's very, 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 very serious. And we need to be paying attention. Now is the time for us to galvanize and stand up. Okay, we need to rally together and push back against this continued use of martial law. Okay, you'll say, oh, well, Marcus, it's not technically martial law because she didn't declare martial law. She didn't declare martial law? Really? Then how did she deploy the National Guard to do, I'm using quote fingers if you don't see me, to do policing stuff? How did she do that if it's not martial law? See, this is what you have to understand is going on. This is what I'm calling mini martial law. It's a run-up to what they're really going to do when they start to deploy them on a wider scale and start denying you entry to certain areas and certain neighborhoods and communities. They've already got it in New York City, where they're putting in this thing, they're calling it congestion pricing, but really it's ultra low emission zones, which you can look up in England, what happened there, okay, with ultra low emission zones. ULEZ, they call it, ULEZ, okay? Basically, you're not able to drive in parts, in the rich part of New York City, because if you do, then you have to pay extra every day to drive there, okay, like 20, 30 bucks, okay, extra just to drive your car in there, because they're saying, oh, well, it's congestion pricing, so it's less traffic there, so it's easier for people to move around. In England, they said, oh, well, it's because of pollution. They want less pollution in these areas. But somehow these areas are only the high-priced places, the very extremely wealthy. We're not talking about the rich, right? We're talking about the ultra-wealthy areas. So this is going to be, who's going to enforce that? Not the police. There aren't enough police even to do anything about the crime. So eventually they'll move in the National Guard, okay? And you mark my words on that. They will put a state level police force in to do that stuff and to deny entry to those areas, or a federal level force to deny entry to certain neighborhoods and communities. You got to wake up now. This stuff is coming out. They're showing us what they're really about right now. And it's time for us to stand up and speak up. If we do not do it now, there will not be a later. I hope that I'm able to be a voice of encouragement to help to galvanize you together. And if you guys are out there and you're looking for next steps or next directions, you can always reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, Marcus, the number 4, okay, the physical digit 4, ROC. You'll find me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, same thing, Marcus, the physical number 4, ROC. Okay, I'm on Facebook. You know, you'll find me Marcus C. Williams or Marcus C. Williams for Rochester. You'll find me on there. Okay, you can email me. Okay, marcus@marcusforrochester.com. Okay, I'm out there. I'm working to try to get people to start to stand up and unite together. Okay, because we have to. At some point, they're going to come for all good citizens, all of the good patriots and all of the good Americans. And it doesn't matter what your party is. As a matter of fact, I guarantee you they start coming for the communists and the socialists that have been out there acting all crazy first. I guarantee you they'll come for them before they come for us. And that's the insanity behind all of this. Many of them will get taken before we do. But eventually they will be pushing us into cattle cars and into internment camps, or just straight putting us out on the street. Okay? So it's time to wake up and galvanize now, before there is no time later. There will be nobody to help you later. It's only us. We are the people. We, the people, are all we got. Not the government. They're not going to do anything. Not the ultra wealthy. They don't care. Okay? What did George Carlin used to say? He used to say, there's a club and we ain't in it. And that's what it really truly is. Okay? It's not the rich. It's the ultra super elite wealthy that we don't even know who most of them are. Okay? You might know some names of some of the families, but honestly, we don't travel in those circles. And George Carlin said it best, and I'm going to paraphrase him. He said, you know, you don't need an open conspiracy when you have a converging of interest. You know, all of those people go to the same colleges, they've got the same bankers, they're married into the same families, most of them are each other's cousins, okay, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle that they're on, whether they're Democrat, Republican, or whatever, at that level of eliteness, of elite tier, it's all the same. It's all the same. That's why there's a grassroots movement to push back against everything that's going on right now. If we don't stand up now, there is no changing the future. Okay? We have to stand up now. We must. Okay, if we do not stand now, if we do not unite now, if we do not come together now, if we do not start galvanizing now, who will fight for our American values, our American dream, and our American spirit? Spirits grow dark when there is no light. So I will be a light as long as I can to help encourage more people to action. We must unite and start taking action now. And it starts at the basic level of you taking interest in your local politics. That's what must be done. Go out to a city council meeting, go to a town council meeting, go to a school board meeting, whatever your interests are. Maybe it's a fire district meeting. Find out what's going on. See what issues are being handled. See what's happening. That's how you start to get informed. That's my encouragement to you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook or wherever, I encourage you, like and subscribe to the Marcus C. Williams YouTube channel, or the Marcus C. Williams channel on Rumble. I appreciate you guys listening. You've been listening to Divide with Marcus C. Williams on WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio, and we'll catch you guys next week. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. Be blessed and be well.
This is Mr. X.
Hey, Mr. X.
Right, how's it going, good brother?
Fine, yourself, Marcus?
Good, good.
So, Lorraine Carr told me you were running for office again.
I am.
The state senate?
State assembly, yes.
State assembly. Oh, good. Happy to hear that.
Yes, indeed. Thank you kindly. Oh, thank you, Toad. I see that you just subscribed. All right, I see you there too, Papa. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well.